Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of the 5th to the 11th of October 2020. I hope you're all well. It's another really powerful week, one to, I think, pay a lot of attention to. I think it's going to grab our attention in lots of different ways. So it's a really good week just get a handle on, get prepared for what we might find coming up. So without further ado, where do we find ourselves at this point in time? Largely, we're probably feeling the station that we've had this weekend of Pluto. So Pluto up here in Capricorn, being a big player in the events of 2020. Pluto is the planet of transformation, but that transformative process, that death and rebirth process that Pluto brings is often provoked by a major crisis. The word that we use with Pluto is intensity. And so whenever Pluto is involved in things, we can expect things to be extremely intense. And of course, that's how we found things this year. So what's happened over the weekend is Pluto has kind of slowed right down to a standstill, a station, as we astrologers call it, in preparation to move direct. So these three planets, the triple conjunction that you'll hear me talk about, all of them now direct. Saturn, not so long ago, now Pluto, really powerful stuff. This took place overnight, Sunday into Monday here in the UK. So you may have been feeling an intensification of issues or just a feeling of heaviness, a feeling of seriousness, and also kind of like a gloom. You know, Pluto can be a little bit gloomy. It tunes us into feelings that we are not usually super prepared to face up to. Pluto basically takes us into the hidden places, the places where we suppress things, the places where we don't want to face things. It's the shadow lands. So if you've been feeling those feelings, my care to you. I certainly have. Pluto stationed at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So the people that are going to have felt this the most are people with planets or angles around that within either Capricorn or the other cardinal signs of Aries, Cancer, and Libra. And again, that's something that's really going to be activated as we move through the week. So a lot of intensity. This 22nd degree that Pluto is stationed at, Pluto's going to remain there now until like the middle of November. The thing about Pluto is being so deep into space, which is a wonderful kind of, just knowing that tells us a lot about how the effect is, the deepness into space, so far away from the light of the sun. He's in the darkest part of space. That's where he has his effect. You know, it's a much bigger orbit around the sun, and therefore it's a much slower moving transit. So Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn since around about 2008 and has only moved up to 22 degrees in that time. So it's a very slow moving, deep affecting planet. So yeah, going to hang out at this exact degree of 22 degrees Capricorn until mid-November. And Jupiter, who's a few degrees back at this point in time, is going to cross over whilst Pluto is hanging over. So we'll have, you know, Jupiter conjunct Pluto in the direct portion as well coming up, but that's not this week, so I'll talk to you about that when it's a more relevant time. So that's the backdrop, really, this really powerful point of time where, as with any planet, when a planet stations like this, either to move direct or to move retrograde, the feeling we're able to tune into and receive the influence of that planet so much more strongly than we are the rest of the time. So that's going to be hanging around for a little while, and it's going to get activated by other planets as well. So lots and lots of Pluto energy. Now we can look at that in two ways. We can look at that of, oh my God, no, crisis. We don't like crisis. But then we can, if we move through, you know, what does that crisis provoke? It's all about the phoenix rising from the ashes. You know, Pluto forces us to deal with things that we haven't wanted to deal with. The things that we've swept under the carpet, the skeletons in the cupboard, the papered over cracks, all right? It just says, nope, I'm gonna rip the blindfolds off, I'm gonna open things up, and I'm gonna make you face and deal with these things. And that's not something, you know, human beings willingly do, but I think we're at that point, I think we can all agree, we're at that point in humanity where, you know, going back to normal, we talk about this new normal, going back to normal, well, if that's the way that we've done things, we simply can't carry on that way. And you may be at this point in your personal life. Where is Capricorn in your chart? Where is it that you just can't carry on burying those feelings, burying those issues, pretending things are away? And Pluto may force the issue, essentially, may force our hand in that, which can be a good thing, I think, ultimately, but there is some pain involved in that process. Just like birth of any kind, if you imagine the birth process, it's hugely traumatic, it's extremely painful. There's some danger involved as well. For everybody involved, it's unpleasant. It's not, you know, there's an incredible beauty in it, of course, but it's pretty ugly. You know, it gets bloody and messy, and so we don't want to look. We get squeamish, but it, ultimately, what we get at the end of the birth process, this incredible, pure, beautiful new life. So it's worth it. It's worth it. So anyway, let's go into the week, just setting the scenes there. So Monday the 5th, we find ourselves today, we have the moon in Taurus. We love the moon in Taurus because it's a female sign. The moon here gives a really, what we call exalted influence. She works really well in the sign of Taurus. It's a Venus-ruled sign. It's a female sign. And it's a very stable and grounded sign. So it keeps our emotions quite stable, but without them, you know, losing the softness, without losing the care, because it's a Venus sign. So today, with the moon being here and forming a really nice aspect up to the kind of the planets that are causing all of this kind of trouble, if that's one way we want to look at it, it's just kind of stabilizing things. So if you've been really feeling that Pluto vibe lately, the moon today might just help to make you feel a little bit more stable, a little bit more calm, because there's a lot of feelings of chaos and overwhelm with these big planets when they show up. So that's really, really helpful today. I like that a lot. And, you know, I work with people with my Moondala readings each month, really helping people to understand how to work with all of the moon cycle, not just those, you know, the kind of the famous attention grabbing points in the lunar cycle, the new moon and the full moon and eclipses and things like that. It's all important. You know, the chart here is split up into 12 houses, 12 signs equally. I use whole house system. Every one of them is as important and valid as all the rest. And that's equally true of the moon's passage through them. We need to work with each portion of the cycle. So when we use it, where we're at in the moon cycle, she's moved on from that full moon. We had the full moon when she was back in Aries in opposition to the sun in Libra. Okay, that was pretty intense for a lot of people because it was conjunct Chiron. So lots of wounds were kind of opened up, lots of vulnerabilities were exposed. What happened at the full moon? The phase we're in now as the moon is waning, the first 7 days after that full moon point, that's all about just sitting with the events, sitting with what was illuminated by the sun as the moon was opposite, what came into our lives, what feelings, what did we experience, and actually spending a few days just picking that apart, just being with it, okay? Being with it and trying to make sense of it, trying to kind of discern and digest what has happened, essentially. This is the time when we need to be doing that, analyzing it. And that analysis process will be really, really helped on Tuesday, because on Tuesday, Tuesday the 6th of October, the moon moves into Gemini. So this is a Mercury ruled sign. And as a Mercury ruled sign, it helps with that kind of looking at different pieces of information, making sense of things, trying to understand things, put things into some kind of context, and also to make decisions. You know, this is a dual sign. This is like, okay, I need to look at this from all different ways, analyze it, and kind of make a decision about it. What do I actually feel? Yeah, Moon in Gemini. What is it that I actually feel about these events that took place at the full moon? So this is really going to help with that. And on that day as well, we have an applying aspect between Gemini's ruler Mercury and Uranus. So they're moving into an opposition. All right, and this is quite a big piece of the astrology that's taking place this week. Mercury is currently in shadow, so it's the pre-retrograde shadow, and what that means is that it's covering ground in the chart between the end of Libra and the beginning of Scorpio. That next week, when Mercury turns retrograde, it's going to turn around and recover that part of the chart. So the pre-shadow is a really important and relevant part of the retrograde process. We don't just want to pay attention to when a planet is actually in the retrograde motion. We've missed a third of the transit by then. So Mercury, the events that are happening now around Mercury are super, super important, and we'll have to go back over them. So, so Mercury is in Scorpio now, and this is, if you ever wanted to get to the bottom of something, Mercury in Scorpio is the go-to energy. Mercury is like, I'm going to get right down into the deep, unseen, the far darkest reaches of space, okay? Because this is Pluto territory. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Yeah, this is, think about it, this is the time of year when we're in Scorpio season that we have Halloween. We celebrate the dead. We celebrate the process of death. Nature is dying, but certainly in the northern hemisphere. We have nature, literally the leaves are falling off the trees and decaying and rotting. We have fungus, mushrooms and everything. They're at their most kind of pivotal point. And they're all about decomposting as well. So the process of death and dying is more familiar and more present when we have planets in Scorpio, and particularly when the sun moves in a couple of weeks' time. So Mercury going into this part is saying, let's get into the hidden stuff, all right? The stuff we don't like looking at. Let's cut the dead body open and find out what killed it, yeah? This is forensic level of detail. And if you ever, if you really want to do some good research, this is the kind of energy you want, or someone that has Mercury and Scorpio in their chart, would be a great person to work in forensic work and any kind of deep research work. Anyway, I'm waffling. So we've got this applying connection between Mercury and Uranus at this time when we have the moon in Gemini, helping us to make sense. Okay, let's look at something came up at that full moon, something painful because it was Chiron, something rejecting. Where was this full moon in your chart? What was happening in your chart? What was illuminated in your chart? And what had this kind of painful or rejecting or abandoning or isolating or I'm not good enough kind of flavor to it. All right, what stimulated that? What provoked that? Now we get to look at, well, what's underneath that? What's underneath that feeling? Where's the root of it? Where does that come from? Where does that idea and that pain, where did it come from within me? And what can I now do about it? What decision can I make about the power? Scorpio is all about power. The power that that has over me and how I show up in that area of my life, wherever Aries is in your chart. These are really important considerations. This is how we use the moon cycle. It's not just full moons and new moons. So I think that's a day that we can use. With this applying Mercury-Uranus opposition, it actually perfects on Wednesday the 7th. So we'll really feel it through Tuesday. And then as we move into Wednesday, that's when it perfects. So I'll put the opposition aspect marker on for Wednesday. And actually it's really interesting because I've timed it with the ephemeris, and the exact sort of almost to the hour of when this perfects will have, then the moon will be in Mercury ruled Gemini, crossing the North Node. So this actually gives matters a very kind of fated feel. And what's the Mercury-Uranus opposition all about? Well, Uranus is shocks and surprises. It's very flash, whoa, didn't see that coming, out of the blue, shocking stuff. Mercury, information, news, changes. You know, what we describe something as being mercurial when it's chubby changey. And let's face it, Mercury is in shadow right now, about to change direction. So that kind of stands to reason. So changes, sudden changes that are related to information. But also let's remember this context of Mercury being in Scorpio. This could shake out something that's being really hidden. This could be, you know, a revelation of something, some secret piece of information, or where information is being manipulated. Now, we're kind of already seeing the start of this influence, certainly here in the UK. We've got a situation here today where our government is dealing with basically the database that they've put together for keeping the numbers of people affected by COVID. 15,000 entries were found to have been missing from this very important piece of data. And I believe the government are going to be making some kind of announcement about that today. So this is the type of thing that we can anticipate. And my goodness, if ever there was a time when we just feel like we are swamped with information, it's now. And I feel like we're going to get a bit more of that. You know, the North Node in Gemini really is all about that. The North Node often has a very insatiable appetite. When we think of Rahu, as it's also known, as being the head of the dragon, it's a dragon that's been cut in half. So there's nowhere for what it takes in through the mouth to build up. It just falls out the other side. So it can just insatiably eat and eat and eat and eat. It can be like more. And with Gemini, this is detail, this is information, this is interrogation, this is getting things down to the nitty gritty. And we are absolutely awash with information. And none of it really we feel like we can trust. You know, everything is open for debate because there's just so much of it. And I think it's the first point certainly in my life, where information about everything and every possible type of information is really readily available. You can Google anything, you know, you can look up anything. You know, it wasn't that long ago that if you wanted to find something out, you opened up an encyclopedia and looked through it, and went to the library, or you talked to other people, goodness, to sort of benefit from their experience. But now we have so much information, and part of the job, I think, of this aspect is going to be, you know, an awakening. Uranus is very awakening, awakening us to the power of information, where we give our power away to information as well, which we all do. We need to catch ourselves doing that. How information is presented sometimes in a shady way. You know, this is Scorpio, and when Scorpio energy is in its undesirable influence, there can be manipulation, there can be abuse. This is Pluto energy. So where has information been covered up, where it's been manipulated, where it's been used in an abusive way, these are things that also might be revealed at this time as well. But bringing it back to your own charts and your own personal experience, which I very much recommend you do, it's kind of like saying, okay, this could bring us into awareness of something, you know, a belief pattern, a thought pattern, a way of communicating is pointed out to us, perhaps by an interaction with someone else, that's a really deep part that we hadn't really realized. This could awaken us to some of our blind spots even. So I'm excited about this, and Uranus energy is quite exciting as well. So shocking news, sudden changes in information, and how information is controlled and used, essentially. This also brings us considerations with these two planets around technology itself. And I, for one, know I struggle a lot with technology. I'm much better able to be creative than I am to have the kind of brain that can sort of, you know, read lots and lots of technical information or make machines work for me. Generally, I'm not very good at that. And I know lots of people that suffer with this kind of technological kind of blockage, like me. But it's a good time to just consider how much of our power we do give over to technology. Perhaps this is a reminder that, have we lost some of our skills? Mercury is all about skill. Mercury rules Virgo. Actually, I've just realized Venus should be in Virgo now. It rules Virgo, and Virgo people are really, really good at practical skills. Fantastic crafts people usually have planets in Virgo. Those people that can really put, you know, absolute minute detail and perfection into the works that they produce. Highly, highly skilled individuals. So people, we want to be highly skilled and have a good attention to detail. People like surgeons and dentists, this kind of people, we want them to not miss any little thing. And so being highly skilled and having to, you know, Mercury rules Gemini, as I say, understanding, you know, have we lost some of our personal skills to technology? Just consider map reading for a second, which is a very Mercury thing. You know, I recently went on my travels, as some of you will know, and I didn't open a map book at any point. I just relied on my sat-nav system. So if that was taken away from me, if there was a crisis point, have I completely lost that skill to be able to navigate myself out of trouble because I've given my power away to that particular piece of technology? That's just a little example of something that we can consider at this time, particularly with the North Node in Gemini. You know, where have we given our power over to technology and to information and our sources of information? Okay, so moving then on to Thursday the 8th. This is a really, really, really powerful day. What we have on Thursday is the focus is back on Pluto, and we now have a square aspect between Mars in Aries in retrograde motion and Pluto recently stationed, so very, very, very powerful. They're both at this point in time with Mars ruling Aries, so being what we call domiciled, hugely, hugely, hugely powerful, being retrograde as well. It's getting to the point now where it's at the closest to the Earth that it ever gets, Mars. So again, huge, 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 powerful influence on us at this point in time. And so what we have here is the two rulers of Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler. So this is the planet that the ancients saw as being the ruler of Pluto, because the ancients were only able to use the planets that they could see with the naked eye. So the traditional rulers of the signs are those that you could see in the sky, in the night sky. Obviously Pluto wasn't discovered till very recent times when we had a telescope. So some of the signs have these two rulerships, traditional and modern day. So we've got Mars and Pluto, both the rulers of Scorpio, in a square aspect. So this is like Mars and the higher octave of Mars. Pluto up here in Capricorn, this is sort of, so part of the MO of Pluto in Capricorn really is to create a crisis within the fabric of our life, the fabric of our system, our structure. What is the earthy, tangible structure that we are all currently living in? Okay, so it's Saturnian. It's very much about the material, okay? It's very capitalist, it's very patriarchal because of the Saturnian influence. This is the structure that we're living in, and Pluto here is saying, we've been kind of playing down. This was doing us a lot of good, right? We really, really needed to have a Capricorn structure in order for us to evolve. But we've got to the point now where perhaps it's time for that to change, because really now it's holding us back. It's gone past its sell-by date a little bit. And Pluto's come along and said, guys, I know you don't like change. I know you're resisting change, which is very Capricornian Saturn thing to do anyway, because Saturn, Capricorn, they want things to last for a very long time. So they're not super open to change. This is Pluto coming along and saying, sorry guys, it's gone rotten now. There's stuff here that's really not achieving what the main aim was, and our inability to deal with that change is now being forced upon us. So it's a breaking apart, essentially. Pluto is kind of like putting things into their constituent parts, breaking the whole thing down and saying, okay, what have we got to work with? What were the ingredients that made this up? And how can we then put them back together in a different way that's actually healthier and more supportive going forwards? Because this way of doing things, it's not working anymore. This is sort of, so what we've got here is we've got Pluto trying to make this happen. We've got Saturn very close by, who's not really wanting this is the resistance. Saturn kind of represents you know, the rules, the regulations, the authority, the blockages, the boundaries, the repression, and the old way of doing things. So Saturn's kind of like forcing a situation here where it almost is intensifying the work that Pluto has to do, making it into more of a crisis through the resistance. All right, so it's pushing down. So it's like a pressure cooker. It's creating a pressure cooker. And this really is about the rules and regulations, the government, the law, all of these things. And then what we have down here is we have Mars and Aries, and this is very simple. This is very, very, very basic, simple, primal, individual energy And this just sees things as very cut and dried, very black and white. All right, Mars doesn't do nuance. Mars is like, am I going to live or am I going to die? Am I going to kill that tiger or is that tiger going to kill me? It's that really basic survival stuff. And right now, we know, we can see very, very easily, it's aggression, it's violence, it's taking unconsidered action. All right, because it's very rash, very impulsive. It's now, has to do something now. If someone has a gun in your face, you have to do something now. You can't go, I'll take half an hour and think about all the pros and cons of what I might do. So yeah, Mars is rash and impulsive. So we've got sort of, this can lead obviously to violence, to aggression. And it's all about power. You know, it's all about power. And the manipulation, abuse, and use of power. So inherent in the square aspect, again, there's a range of potentialities. It could just irritate the hell out of you, make you feel really, really, really insanely angry about issues. But that could then provoke and motivate transformation to take place. This is the thing. This is the good thing, because this transformation is unavoidable. Yeah, that's what Pluto is telling us. The change will happen. The necessary change that we need to go through will happen. You cannot resist Pluto. All you do through resisting Pluto is make the crisis more and more intense. So where Pluto is showing up in your chart, change will happen, whether you like it or not. And so we can be part of that and say, okay, let's play our part in that. Yeah, I don't really want to. It's not something I want to have to give my energy to. But actually, yeah, I'm stimulated to make a transformation happen and be part of that process. This is me. This is the I. This is Aries. What part of this transformation am I playing? All right, this is where I involve myself in the collective and the system. And in order to do that, we need to get comfortable with the fact that we have Mars energy, right? We have every sign in our chart and we have every planet in our chart. And one of my biggest bugbears in astrology and just in life in general is this idea that there are good and bad. Good planets, bad planets, good emotions, bad emotions. And often Mars is classed as, you know, oh, anger and sex and things that aren't good. You know, we don't like the fact that we're sexual beings. We don't like the fact that we are angry people and that we kill things. We don't like a lot of what Mars kind of influences us. And so what we've done is, with Pluto, we tend to push it down. And I think this is especially the case for women dealing with Mars, because it is such a contrast. You know, we're more Venusian. So, you know, Mars is a very kind of opposite energy. Mars is all about separation and the individual, whereas Venus is all about connection and unifying. So it's very, very difficult for women to kind of encompass and understand their own Mars energy. But I think it's time when we all really need to do that. And certainly a Mars retrograde, and a Mars retrograde in its own sign, really is a time for us all, man, woman, whatever, to explore our relationship to Mars and what Mars is all about. And Mars is all about Muladhara chakra, you know, the root chakra. This is our primal safety and security, and I have to get something to eat and I have to have sex, otherwise this, you know, this species is going to die out. It's survival. It's that kind of simple. And we all are having our survival, that energy center poked at the moment, because you know, if we lose our jobs en masse, if we lose our lives en masse, all of these things are considerations that we've probably never given much headspace to in the past. And part of that is because we've relied upon this structure and this system. You know, we've relied upon it to keep doing what it's always done, which is to provide. Capricorn is going out there into the world, making shit happen, doing the hustle, and bringing the goods home to the family, right? Down there, Cancer, the opposite. So, you know, that's the energy that we're tapping into. It's like, oh, hang on a second. What happens to me when this falls apart? You know, when I can't rely on this. Part of the Saturn influence, in fact, is about relying upon things so much that we actually end up taking them for granted. We take for granted that there'll always be food in the shops. We take for granted that we'll always have a job to go to if we want to work and we want to provide for our families. We take for granted that we'll always have a place to live. You know, all of these basic aspects of life. And it's kind of, yeah, that's the stuff that's going to be stimulated, and these are the things that we need to give consideration to. And our survival stuff is constantly manipulated. So how do we use our Mars energy if we're saying, well, it's not seemly to be a sexual being, you know, that's taboo. We must suppress that. We must push that down. And then people are just doing everything in secret. And it's not pretty for a girl to be angry. You mustn't be angry or assertive or, you know, in any way kind of defensive even. To be powerful, to have power, to say no. No is separating, no is Mars. Mars and Saturn to some degree. These are the things that we have decided somewhere along the lines, it's bad. It's a bad emotion to be angry. It's not. I can tell you right now, there are certain things in life you really need to be angry about. And the fact that we're not angry about them is actually what's got us into this problem in the first place. It's misplaced Mars energy. We talk about toxic masculinity, and that is essentially what happens as a result of us not really engaging in a healthy way with our Mars energy. So this is really going to be a peak moment, and that's going to teach us a little bit about that. How is it manipulated? If Capricorn is the capitalist structure that's all about the hustle, it's all about earning money to buy stuff, right? Okay, yeah. How then is our Mars energy manipulated to make that happen? Sex. Sex sells everything in our culture. You know, you stick a pretty lady with big boobs on the bonnet of a car and you're more likely to sell that car than you are, you know, with some, you know, without a pretty woman with big boobs on the front of the car. Sex sells, it's been proved. It stimulates Mars. And that stimulates action. And they know this. It stimulates that fight. I must do something. I must do something now. Impulse within us. You know, this is why it's used this way. And that's been taken even further. I mean, you look at the army, Mars, Aries. You look at the armed forces, and many studies have been conducted into the use of pornography, within the armed forces, off the scales kind of levels of use of it, because it's stimulating that Mars, and they're in such a Martian environment that's, you know, all about fighting and, you know, the sort of the toxic side of, or potentially toxic side of the masculinity. It's about defending, but it's about being, you know, muscular and powerful and manly and all of these things. And in actual fact, there were, I remember reports around, way back in the Shock and Awe campaign, if you remember that, the invasion of the Middle East. And there were reports, I can't say whether they're accurate or not, but it wouldn't surprise me, where soldiers are actually played pornography or encouraged to use pornography before battle, because it stimulates that Mars influence in just the same way as all of these advertisements that use subtle suggestions of sexuality, all of those pop videos that constantly it's just sex, sex, sex. It sells, it makes people take action, it makes people do things in a Martian way. So let's consider how we're using that energy, how we could use it better, all right? Because there's a lot of energy with Mars. And that's our juice, that's our mojo. What do we want to use our mojo for? Not giving it away to the hustle, I would suggest. But it's going to be a personal kind of consideration. So my key point there really is about getting out of this idea of good versus bad. There are healthy and unhealthy expressions of each. And I think a big part of having Venus in Virgo right now, Venus is all about our values, okay? And how we connect and relate to something. And Virgo is about improving things. It's about making things healthier. So let's use Venus's influence here, and there'll be more Venus influence throughout the week actually, of saying, you know, how can I improve my relationship in a more healthy way to my Mars? Okay, and how this connects up between the Earth signs, Virgo and Capricorn. How can I improve upon how I use things out there in the system and the structure, and what's happening with the system and the structure, and what's going to come, because after the death must come the rebirth. You know, that's inevitable. It has to happen. So let's put some consideration into that too. So that's Thursday, pretty big stuff. A very pivotal moment, and I would anticipate, you know, a lot of power, a lot of anger, a lot of Mars, a lot of assertion, that kind of thing, and a lot of frustration. This is the thing, a lot of frustration that can stimulate rash and impulsive actions in order to assert some kind of dominance or relevance, even where the individual man feels like, I'm not relevant in the big system. I'm just this, you know, this tiny little number, this statistic, and I demand to be relevant. Friday the 9th then, Moon now moves into more emotional territory, back into another cardinal sign, this time we're in Cancer, so her home sign, so she's very strong here. And what's going to happen, this is the phase of the moon then that we call the last quarter moon. So this is the midpoint between the full moon that just happened in Aries and the new moon that's coming up. It's that midway point. So all of these considerations, all right, this analysis, this making my mind up about and thinking about what happened with that full moon, this is the point where the universe says, okay, this is your crossroads. This is where you decide to leave something behind, to let something go, because this is the waning part of the moon. This is like, I need to release something related to that situation that will be dependent upon how, you know, what your analysis has been. And it's making room for a new start with the new moon. So it's not the point where you have to do the releasing, it's just the provocation that says, are you up for it? Are you really up for this? Are you actually going to make the changes that are necessary to move towards a fresh start? And then the release process takes sort of 7 days, the following 7 days. That can be done throughout there, but that's that challenge that says, okay, so you think you want to change because of what you've seen of the full moon. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a challenge and see how up for that you really are. So it's going to be challenging. It's usually very stimulating and provocative energy anyway. The quarter moons are often very eventful. This is going to be kind of, gosh, I've got tongue-tied. This is going to be increased. This is going to be exacerbated by the fact that we've got the Mars-Pluto square going on there. Then we've got the moon will be in opposition to these guys as she moves through Cancer. This is obviously every month now. And then the sun will square in Libra, okay, square sign. And then the moon brings together the connection to Mars. This is what's called a cardinal grand square or cardinal cross. In fact, there's another, have I got another opposition? No, I don't have another opposition, but essentially there's another line that goes through there. This is a massively provocative and tense energy. So, you know, as we go through Friday, Saturday, this really is going to be a very, very potent time, a very challenging time for lots and lots of people. So do be aware of that. But know that it's passing, as always. The Mars-Pluto stuff is going to hang around for a little while, but the sun moves 1 degree every day, and the moon moves through a sign, you know, in 2.5 days. So this is just here for a short period of time, and try and engage with it, try and be with it, try and understand, Mercury, what's underneath it. Scorpio, where are you being asked to take action, to be part of the change that's going on? All right, be that in your personal life or in the bigger picture, or both. All right, so this is a really, really powerful moment that we've got. As we move through the weekend, let me leave you on a more uplifting note. We have a lovely, lovely connection now. Let me get rid of these guys. I'm going to leave the Mars-Pluto there because that's kind of still going to be operational in the background. We've got a lovely aspect that we're already building into, it's applying, but we're really going to feel it as we move into the weekend. It's a trine aspect, an easy flow of energy between between Venus doing her job there in Virgo that I've already touched on, you know, self-improvements, how do we connect with healthier values, healthier lifestyle, that kind of thing. Venus, loads of receptivity here because she's connecting with Uranus, and Uranus is in a Venus-ruled sign. So they're going to speak to each other even more harmoniously. They're both in earth signs. That gives us the trine. So this is lovely energy because Uranus brings things that we weren't expecting. So this time, nice surprises because it's Venus. So unexpected blessings essentially is this flavor. They can take the form of romantic connections, pleasant times with other women, or just other people in general. Relating is a Venusian thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a romantic situation, just relating. Relating and connecting through technology. So some nice experiences, some pleasant experiences there with technology or new technology, possibly even some breakthrough stuff. Financial surprises. Venus is in Taurus. These are financial influences. So yeah, nice financial surprises. It's a compulsion also for something new, something different. We might get a bit spendy with this because it's Venus. So it might be like, oh, I want to go out on a just, you know, spontaneous. There's a very kind of spontaneous kind of feel to Uranus. Oh, I suddenly just want to go out and buy something, you know, completely different, or, you know, something I wouldn't ordinarily go for. It's stimulating the need for connection, but also it's kind of going to have a fairly low threshold for tradition, for something you're very used to, for something that's samey, for something that's a bit boring, a bit, you know, God, we've done this 1,000 times. Do we really have to, you know, have that same meal from the takeaway? It could even be that small, you know, I'm going to try something different from the takeaway menu. You know, it's that appetite for change, for trying something a little bit different, something that you haven't done before. You know, there's lots and lots of ways that we can explore and just have a bit of an adventure. Breakthroughs are possible in this time, at this time. Taurus generally isn't a big change loving sign, but Uranus here is really helping to just put a bit of push under the bull that can get stuck in the mud a little bit, and just saying, oh, come on, you know, let's at least, you know, move to a different field. So this is, yeah, that stimulation of something new, something change, a breakthrough in your health, a breakthrough in self-improvement, in beautifying something. You might suddenly, on a whim, decide you're going to redecorate, something like that, or, you know, redecorate yourself even. And essentially, what I'd like to leave you with this energy, the sentence that kind of encapsulates this for me is the freedom and stimulation to explore alternative ways to connect and care. And I think this is really, really, really important at this time. This is very much going to form part, you know, these guys will be trining loosely up to the crisis that's taking place up there in Capricorn. This is influencing that area of the chart, you know, with this radical new way of doing things in terms of how we connect and how we show care and compassion in practical ways, because it's in Virgo. So find where the earth signs are in your chart. Okay, what houses do they occupy? What planets are involved? And ask yourself this question. You know, this is the freedom and stimulation to explore alternative ways to connect and care. So in those areas of your life, what are the new and different ways that you can do? And just have some time just to explore that. Try different things. You know, actually do. These are practical signs. So actually do it. Just say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be a different way, and just see how it fits. Just try it out. Just experiment. You know, there's nothing really to lose. So as always, I hope my analysis, my interpretation of the sky this week is of use to you. I'll be back next Monday as always. If this is helpful, please support me in reaching other people by giving me a like, a love, a share. Leave me a comment, interact with me in any way that you can. Make sure that you're following me on Facebook and Instagram, because a lot of the work that I do is put out on there, and I don't want you to miss out on anything if it is helpful to you. Make sure you've subscribed to this channel as well. And if you'd really like to get into working with the full and complete lunar cycle, then get in touch and book a Moondala reading with me once a month. It's only half an hour, it's super quick, £25, so really affordable to lots of people. And I look forward to working with you then. And until next Monday, have a beautiful week. Have a powerful week, but make sure that you're using the power so that it's not using you. Lots of love. Bye.